Hello, my name is Patrick and today I'll show you how to prepare a buffer tank or freshwater tank from OEG for installation. Here, we distinguish between tanks up to 500 liters and tanks from 800 liters upwards, which are delivered with a removable segment insulation. First, I'll explain the procedure for tanks up to 500 liters, and in the second part of the video, I'll cover the special features of larger tanks with segment insulation. The first step is to remove the supplied casing from the tank. Check that the casing is provided in the desired color. For now, leave the casing in its protective cover to prevent it from being damaged or soiled during the following steps. Now, remove the protective film from the tank. Be careful not to cut into the PU foam so that the vacuum panels underneath are not damaged. Simply leave the warning stickers over the pressure areas of the vacuum panels in place. Next, the tank is detached from the transport pallet. To do this, remove the screws and release the swivel hooks. It is not necessary to lift the tank for this. You can simply unscrew them from above by yourself. Then you can take the tank off the pallet. The easiest way is to rotate the tank off the pallet like this. Depending on the size and weight of the tank, you may need 2 people for this step. Before you attach the casing, remove the lid from the tank. After unpacking the casing, check which side is the outside. The outside should be matte, the inside should be smooth. Now you can attach the casing to the tank. To do this, align the holes in the casing with the connections on the tank. If the casing is not perfectly centered after securing it with the Velcro fastener, you can still adjust it slightly afterwards. Now the lid can be placed back onto the tank. The rosettes can now be attached to the connections. Make sure to use the correct size for each connection. It helps if you work your way from large to small. If you can't attach the rosette by hand, you can also use a rubber mallet to help. At the connection for the heating element, a plug is screwed in addition to the rosette. All pre-assembled connections must be checked for leaks when commissioning the unit. The thermometer is also inserted. Finally, the nameplate is attached to the tank. Ideally, choose a spot that will still be easily accessible and visible once the tank is permanently installed. Also, stick the Thermovac label onto the tank as a note about the special insulation. You can find all the information about the various connections for installing the device in the user manual. The device type and serial number can be found on the nameplate. Now I'll show you what else you need to pay attention to with larger tanks starting from 800 liters. The larger tanks are delivered with removable segments so they can be transported through narrow spaces and doors into the installation room. The segments are secured to the tank with tension straps for transport. First, the insulation is removed from the tank starting with the lid. After that, the tension straps can be released and the segments removed. Tanks starting from 800 liters are also bolted to the transport pallet. However, the feet are permanently attached to the tank here. When you remove the tank from the pallet and transport it to the installation site, you should make sure not to put any strain on the thin connection pipes while carrying it. These could be damaged as a result. Once the tank is in its designated location, the segment insulation can be reattached and secured with the tension straps. As soon as the first tension strap is tightened, you can still adjust the segments so that they are all straight and fit snugly against the tank. Once the second tension strap is also secure, the lid can be placed back on the tank, but without the plastic cover. Now the supplied strapping band must be attached. This should be placed roughly at the same height as the tension straps, but should not overlap with them. To do this, first make a loop with one end of the band, pull it through the opening, and then bend the clasp through the loop. Then repeat this with the other end of the band. Be sure to wear gloves when tightening the strapping band to avoid injuring your hands. make sure that the connector of the strapping band is aligned with the joints. This way, it can be easily hidden in the small gap between two segments. Once both bands are tightened, any excess can be cut off. Be careful not to cut into or otherwise damage the insulation here. Now you can remove the tensioning straps. They are no longer needed here and can be used elsewhere if you like. For tanks of 800 liters or more, the cladding is also segmented into several parts. Assemble these so that they fit the connections on the tank. For this step, it can be helpful to work with a second person. It is also important that the plastic caps or plugs supplied with painted tanks must be replaced with proper ones. Once the cladding is attached to the tank, the plastic lid can be placed back onto the tank. That's it. Now your OEG tank is ready for connection.